But we do know that here on Earth, there's been a lot of evolution and a lot of life. And Jeff McKibben is here to tell us about some ancient life and some interesting implications this might have. Jeff, what do you got for us?
That's right. All of these rovers and landers are doing really great, important work on Mars and discovering Mars's part in the history of life in our solar system, if it indeed had one. But there's discoveries on Earth that also further that goal. In July, a paper was published about fossil microbes trapped in ancient deep sea rock from an environment that might have looked something like these modern deep sea vents here. These fossils were discovered in South Africa, just north of the border of Eswatini. This area is currently above ground, or above the water level, but way back in the day when these fossils were formed, this was deep underwater. And here they are. If you're not sure what you're looking at, don't worry, you're not alone. I wasn't sure either at first. What you're looking for are those little black lines. This is a kind of rock called chert, where it's basically quartz with crystals that are so small you can't see them. And these little black lines aren't necessarily supposed to be there. They could have been some kind of mineral intrusion. So scientists did a chemical analysis and found that they're actually organic compounds. They're kerogens, which is a fancy way of saying they are the decayed organic remains of once living material. You're probably familiar with some other kerogens like crude oil, which is a big one. But these are a bit smaller than the oil deposits you're used to seeing. They're only about this big. Even if the size of a penny, the microscope view is too large, you have to zoom in to about 50, I keep on forgetting, that's micrometers, right?
Yeah, that's micron. Yeah.
That's microns. That little 50 microns, that's also about the length of a human hair, depending on who you are. So this is a very small thing. Now, its size isn't what's impressive. They're microbes, we expect them to be really small. What's special about them is that they are very old. So we talk about old in terms of the history of the entire planet, from the Earth forming to all space considered August 2021, probably the two most important dates in the history of the Earth. If you look at when humans first evolved to our sort of modern anatomical state, that happened pretty recently. These microbes are older than that. If you look at when the first animals developed, well, these microbes are older than that. They're older even than the first land plants. These microbes developed about 3.5 billion years ago. And that's really good. The thing is, these aren't the only fossils. This isn't the only evidence of life that has been found from around this period. But the thing is, other fossils are something called stromatolites. And these things are kind of like us. They take in oxygen and use carbon dioxide or produce carbon dioxide. And this process, this oxygen cycle, is used to sort of make energy, this metabolism. Plants and stromatolites also took in sunlight to, generate their own oxygen. It's a very efficient thing. It's very cool. But these fossils that we're talking about now, they didn't do that. In fact, they used, instead of oxygen or CO2, they used methane. So unlike animal life that I'm used to seeing on our planet, like plants and fungi and animals, these things either produced or consumed methane to do that. And while we can expect very diverse metabolisms nowadays, like 3.5 billion years after life began, seeing that kind of diversity among the earliest life is really amazing. And it has implications for the search for life in other parts of our solar system, like Mars. 3.5 billion years ago, it seems like Mars also had conditions ripe for life. And if life on Earth not only started, but existed in incredible diversity very soon after it started, that makes you a little bit more hopeful that life might be more common than we once thought. Now, this is a piece of evidence to add on to the growing body of research about this kind of thing. But there's one other thing, and that is that it used methane. And that's a big deal because that also expands the kinds of places where we should reasonably think to look for life. For example, Titan, I think is one of Saturn's moons that has liquid oceans of methane. And while we're probably not going to find anything like this critter here, we might find more microbes. This is a really cool thing because, well, if life can survive in more diverse places than we once thought, every discovery we make seems to suggest more and more and more that life from a very early point will develop rapidly in multiple directions. That says very promising things as far as the search for life on other worlds goes. At least I think so.
I think so too, Jeff. That's a very interesting report about these microbes that are actually they're eating the methane, because oftentimes we think about methanogens that consume methane, but these are sort of, or produce methane rather.
Yeah.
We have cows that produce methane.
Yeah.
So, about methane production,
so,
but these actually would live off the methane there. So a location that had methane maybe could have this life form.
It seems likely the researchers weren't able to 100% rule out if they were producing or consuming the methane, just because the cells had completely degraded. The only trace was that they found higher concentrations of nickel than was expected. And that is something that is used in both methane producing and methane consuming microbes.
Okay, well, very interesting. More work to do there.